This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth, and what you're looking at here, guys, is the Canadian Security Intelligence Service Annual 2023 Report, where in it, they discuss violent extremism. They specifically talk about ideologically motivated violent extremism, and one of their biggest examples that they show here as being an issue in Canada that they think they have to deal with here is the so-called anti-gender movement. It says here, the anti-gender movement falls within the gender identity-driven violence category of the IMVE, or ideologically motivated violent extremism, and is defined as the ideological opposition to the socio-cultural shifts that are represented by the integration and the acceptance of gender theory, including acceptance of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. And speaking of acceptance of this community, guys, in case you didn't know, just last year, the Canadian government issued this contract worth over $1 million for 2S LGBTQI+ anti-stigma awareness marketing campaign. The ultimate objective of this contract is to develop and implement a marketing and an awareness campaign aimed at targeting segments of the Canadian people. The broad purpose of the campaign is to engage a targeted segment of people in Canada to help foster a 2S LGBTQI+ inclusive future. This contract was awarded last year by the same man who just tweeted this yesterday. If someone says that the fight for 2S LGBTQI+ equality is over, just think how often a queer student is bullied or a trans person is attacked. We've come a long way, but we have work to do to make Canada a safe and more inclusive place. Like, are you freaking kidding me? What rights do I have right now that transgender people do not have in Canada? They can get married if they want to. They can have kids. They could basically just purchase a baby. They can walk around virtually naked for the entire month of June just to show, how proud they are of their sexuality. Speaking of sexuality, guys, I find it highly inappropriate for a prime minister to talk about children in a sexualized manner, referring to them as queer. Why is the prime minister referring to children as being queer, engaging in the sexualization of young children? As I said, highly inappropriate for a prime minister to do. And on top of that, he suggests that they are being bullied or that trans people are being attacked. Where is this happening? When is this happening? Can you show me maybe some footage or some instances of this? I can certainly show you some instances of when the transgender people go on the attack for anybody who happens to be opposed to their ideology. Do you remember this exclusive video that I put out? When unhinged transgender people attack on the International Day of Trans Day Visibility. On March 31st, Dan Dicks and Chris Elston, aka Billboard Chris, went to a rally on the International Day of Trans Visibility where Chris was violently attacked, while the Vancouver police stood by and did absolutely nothing, while making the claim that Chris was the instigator because of his sign. You watch the video and let me know what you think, and you will see. They are the ones who are completely unhinged and engaging in violence here. So, what is it? When we have stuff like this coming out, are they going to, call me referring to this as being terroristic activity? This is from the National Library of Medicine. This is the risk of suicide and self-harm following gender affirmation surgery. Basically, the results of this study concluded that individuals who underwent gender-affirming surgery had a 12-fold higher suicide attempt risk than those who did not. So again, I'd ask you, am I going to be targeted by CSIS as being some sort of, violent, terrorist for bringing up this information? What probably bugs me the most about this CSIS report claiming that those who, have issues with this social contagion that is happening are violent extremists, that is such a slap in the face when we know that CSIS themselves are the ones who have been caught time and time again engaging in terrorism, actually being the ones to set up and foster real terrorism. I've exposed this multiple times over the years. You've got proof that CSIS and the RCMP are the real terrorists because of the Canada Day bombing plot that was exposed. In case you didn't know, they set up these two, Cordery and Nuttall, and it was a complete setup. CSIS and the RCMP are complicit in manufacturing terrorism. I covered this one extensively. Canada Day bombing foiled plot or a CSIS setup. Watch these videos and you will find that it is actually CSIS who is the ones who was engaging in all of this. You've got proof that Canada is importing terror, the Edmonton attack exposed, and of course all the stuff going on in the United States as well, like that leaked manifesto which ended up proving that the transgender Nashville shooter was just a brainwashed leftist who absolutely hated white privilege. And so it's similar to what we have going on in Canada, guys. So I'm going to talk about all of this and much, much more in this video. But really quickly, just before we do, guys, I'd ask that you check me out here at Go Get Funding. This is a campaign that I've launched because in just about a week from now, I'm going to be heading to Madrid, Spain to cover the annual Bilderberg conference. And I need your help to be able to do so, guys. The 2024 Bilderberg conference is being held in Madrid, Spain from May 30th to June 2nd. Press for Truth will be there to provide the extensive coverage that you've come to expect from PFT. Your contribution will help cover the cost of flights and accommodations while covering one of the world's most secretive meeting that is being held by some of the world's most powerful and influential people. Guys, if you appreciate my efforts to expose things like Bilderberg and you would like to contribute to my efforts to do so this year, please check that top link in the description below to where you can find the Go Get Funding campaign to support my efforts to head to Spain this year to expose the Bilderberg Group. Thank you so much to everybody who does contribute to this campaign. All right, guys, let's start with this. In case you didn't know, I tweeted this the other day. Wow, Peru is based because of this. They recently declared that transgender people are officially classified as being mentally ill, sparking fury among LGBTQ groups. Peru has officially classified transgender people as mentally ill. Under the decree signed by the president, transsexualism, dual role transvestism, gender identity disorder in childhood, other gender identity disorders, fetishistic transvestism, this is all now recorded as a mental illness. And of course it is. You know what I mean? That's the like I would say the very, definition of a mental illness would be somebody who's thinking that there's something that they are not. So what? According to the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, is the entire country of Peru akin to being like, violent extremists who are, dangerous terrorists? It's absolutely insane, guys. Well, let's look into what they are suggesting here, because this is absolutely wild. They say individuals may become engaged with the movement for many reasons. The anti-gender movement, by the way, gender is non-existent essentially. There's biological sex. And then there's the new notion of gender being a social construct. This is relatively new. This is why the social contagion is spreading in the way it does, because of this kind of nonsense. And they say you're getting engaged. People become engaged with this movement because of including beliefs stemming from misogyny, homophobia, transphobia, religious interpretations, conspiracy theories, or a generalized fear of social cultural change. Well, first of all, they use terms like homophobia and transphobia. We're not afraid of homosexuals. We're not afraid of transgendered people. In fact, the word phobia implies an irrational fear of something, but there's absolutely nothing irrational about having concerns with people who quite literally are suffering from a mental illness. So this is crazy. And this is where things get really wild. CSIS assesses that the violent threat posed by the anti-gender movement is almost certain to continue over the coming year, and that violent actors may be inspired by the University of Waterloo attack to carry out their own extreme violence against the 2S LGBTQI+ community or against other targets that they view as representing the gender ideology agenda. Now, what are they referring to here in terms of what, people may copy in terms of the Waterloo attack? Well, they get into it here. The Waterloo attack on June 28th, 2023, Giovanni, this guy, 24-year-old, recent University of Waterloo graduate, entered a gender studies class on campus, stabbed a professor and 2 students with a kitchen knife. He was subsequently charged with 11 offenses, including an attempted murder and aggravated assault. On the 31st of 2023 of August, the prosecution announced its decision to prosecute him as a terrorist. And look at the language that CSIS themselves use here. The attack appears targeted, and while he held various ideological grievances, his primary motivation was likely his anti-gender views. The alleged perpetrator's actions appear driven by a desire to express his grievances and send a message to his perceived enemies. So, again, he held these ideological grievances that were likely his anti-transgender views, not necessarily definitely, and his actions appear to be driven by these grievances. So they don't even definitely for sure know that this is the case, but they are still citing this as something that people may want to potentially try to replicate in the future. This is absolutely insane. By the way, they also lump in anybody who's opposed to this ideology as people who are akin to, people who espouse anti-Semitic rhetoric. Look at this. Anti-2S LGBTQIA+, and anti-Semitic rhetoric is spreading wildly throughout social media and online forums among domestic RMVE adherents, increasing the risk of extremist violence against these communities and placing youth vulnerable to RMVB propaganda, higher risk becoming radicalized on online platforms. There is no violent attacks on transgender people in Canada, and there is no massive anti-Semitic movement or a bunch of, rhetoric that is spreading. This is, again, absolutely insane. And it's insane to me, again, that CSIS is putting out this report suggesting that anybody who, speaks out about this social contagion, the gender ideology cult that is spreading, is potentially like akin to a domestic terrorist, when they themselves are fully complicit in setting up and attempting to carry out real terrorism in Canada. Folks, if you haven't seen my coverage of the Canada Day bombing plot that was exposed as a major CSIS setup, make sure you check all the links in the description to this video today, guys. So just wanted to bring all of this to your attention. This is quite the report. I will put a link to this in the description below. They talk about xenophobic violence, anti-authoritarian violence, and then this so-called gender identity-driven violence. If you want to see where the real violence stems from, it's from the actual transgender community themselves, who, like in this footage here, the words that were on his sign were "children cannot consent to puberty blockers." That's what they deemed to be highly offensive, and that's why this group of transgender people violently attacked Billboard Chris at this event that went mega viral. I got millions and millions of views on this clip right here of these transgender people attacking Billboard Chris because he was ideologically opposed to their cult. So CSIS is siding with the mentally ill, guys, so I just wanted to bring this one to your attention. Once again, if you want to check out the full 41-page document, I will have a link to that located in the description below. I want to also remind you not to forget to check me out at Go Get Funding. This is a campaign to help me with my trip. I'm heading there either way, but it is costing me a lot of money out of my own pocket to go expose, some of the world's most powerful and influential people. So if it is within your means to be able to contribute to my cause, to shine a light on these dark deeds that are done in the dark, please consider taking a moment today to check that top link in the description below. And that's all for today, guys. Just wanted to bring this CSIS report to your attention. Once again, if you do appreciate my efforts to do so, don't forget to click that thumbs up button, share this video, and stay tuned, guys. We're going to have more video reports coming soon, God willing. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.